Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Hanifa Sayed and I'm the head youth development coordinator for the Oliver Storytime Series, of course in collaboration with Olive Community Services. I started this first as my Girl Scout Gold Award project when I wanted to venture out in the community and find a cause which I really cared for. Right now, obviously in the coronavirus pandemic, there is a huge need for social interaction, both among teens and senior citizens. The social isolation and anxiety isn't helping anyone, and I wanted people to develop their resiliency skills in meaningful ways which would bring together both members of the community. Helping fill that generational gap, I wanted to create the Oliver Storytime Series, which was a 6-week program where an Oliver would come each week and teens would interact with them as they told their stories and went to breakout rooms and met amazing volunteers who are on my team. So we definitely plan to have future sessions and we want all of you to join us as well. So whether you're a teen, whether you're an Oliver, we would love to have you as a participant, volunteer, speaker. I'm sure you can fit into the big family anywhere, but we would love to have you all join us. So right now you're actually going to be watching something very special. You're going to be watching little segments from our Storytime series where Oliver shared their advice that they wanted for the next generation. So I hope you enjoy that little segment.
I think what you can learn from my life is that your choices matter. And when you're faced with choices, do an evaluation, do a sincere evaluation, do your research, do the plus and minus. That methodology of the assets and debits. And then be open. Just as a small example, I started my company, Mars, because I was a mother of 3. I wanted to go back to work, but I couldn't really afford to go back full-time to work. I started as a management consultant doing management training. I got dared to go into engineering services. I learned. And you know how I learned? I would go and I would attend meetings and I would take notes. And fortunately, my husband is an engineer. So I would come and say, I'll cook your best dinner. So what does this mean? What does this mean? Where do I get this information? That's how I got myself knowledgeable about the field, not having gone to engineering school. So there's always an opportunity to find information. And I share that with every one of you. Do not hesitate to look for advice, look for mentors. All somebody could say is, sorry, I can't. But if you don't ask, you don't have that answer, right? You don't know. Somebody may just say, yes, I will. Yes, I will.
Overcome the obstacles that will happen in life. And it happens to all of us. And no one will escape having a dream that does not manifest itself or an opportunity that one it slips past, and sometimes you feel that that'll never come again, and sometimes you're in a very low place mentally, spiritually, and it can even bring you physically sometimes down. And knowing what I know now, when you continue to get up and you continue to ask yourself the questions and to look at not only your positive attributes, but assess your shortcomings and some of the reasons possibly why things didn't happen as you thought that they should have happened, and having that spirit, having a sense of humor, having people in your life that will continue to encourage you, and to be there with you when things don't go as you would like them. Losing jobs is things that happen oftentimes, and often it has nothing to do with your performance, or it may have nothing to do with anything that you did, but it still can happen. And you sometimes question yourself, and you have to bounce back. You have to come back. We lose people in our lives, whether it's our parents or our grandparents or a friend or somebody that meant a lot to us. And a lot of times this too can set you back. And again, you have to be able to remember often that they were someone who inspired you, and you have to take from that I'm not going to give up, but I'm going to pick up myself, and I'm going to continue to put one foot ahead of the other and take one step at a time, to live one day at a time. And these are things that we hear often, but in life you get placed in circumstances where that becomes a reality, and you really do have to live one day at a time and walk one step at a time. Just remembering, as I'm talking to you, I had brain surgery in 1990, and I had no idea what would be the outcome, if it would come back, if I would survive the surgery. And so these were realities that I had to pick up once I got through the surgery, of living one day at a time. And here, 30 years later, I mean, and I had no idea. I didn't ask for it. I just said, Allah, whatever you place before me, I will accept it. I had a wonderful life prior. I was able to talk to my aunts and uncles and tell them how much they had impacted my life right before the surgery. They thought I was being morbid, and I was thinking I was going to leave. That had nothing to do with it. It was just a moment that I wanted to reflect upon people who had touched my life and wanted them to know. And I was thankful that I was able to communicate how much they had meant to me, but not knowing how my life would be after. I had to find that place to be resilient and to come back and learn how to walk again and talk. And it was amazing, that journey. And that's what I found out, that life is an amazing journey. And don't get too low on yourself when things are down, and don't get too high on yourself when things are up, because it's a journey. And as they say, it's a marathon. So it's a long time. So you want to just go with it, embrace it, embrace when negative things happen, because that's how we grow. It's in those times and in those moments when we really get a chance to reflect and realize we weren't all what we thought we were. We didn't know as much as we thought we knew. And it's humbling, and that's all right.
That's such a beautiful.
Try to maintain a balance, because in the current age of this media where everybody is talking to everybody, there is a lot of emphasis on happiness. Okay, everybody wants to know, are you happy? Okay. Now, if you look at the definition of happiness, happiness is a temporary state. It's not a permanent condition. It's basically sadness, happiness. These are all transitional. So you can transition from one to the other. So try to develop yourself somewhere in between, where you are content most of the time. And for a short time, you are maybe too happy, and maybe a few times here and there, you are a little bit sad. But try to be content. And contentment is a fairly difficult thing to achieve, because there are too many distractions and too many other things that goes in life. And so that's what I would say you should try to do. And the third thing I will try is try to develop some habits that you are more self-reliant in terms of your ability to problem solve things. Okay, don't freak out when you have a little difficulty. You can't understand a problem, or you're getting somewhere late. Try to use your logic and try to find the sources of information where you can problem solve things. Because there are two things in life that you are going to need to succeed. One is the knowledge. The knowledge you can gain reading a book, you can go to Google, you can go to But the most important thing is how to apply that knowledge. And that's what I call problem solve. Okay. You could have too much knowledge. There is, like this Persian poet who says, if you load up a donkey with books, that donkey can't solve your problem. So similarly, you have to kind of develop a self-reliant skill to problem solve. That's basically application of the knowledge. Okay. And the fourth thing I will leave with you is try to establish certain boundaries, okay, based on who you are, what you want to be, and then try to operate within those boundaries. And that may be in terms of your education, in terms of your personal life, in terms of your relationship with your parents, in terms of your relationship with your extended families. So you need to have those boundaries so that you can operate within them, because there is nothing single point. Your life is going to require some flexibility, okay? It may not be resiliency, but it's like, when you stretch the rubber, it kind of takes different forms. So you need to establish those boundaries and try to kind of operate and be flexible.
Communication with your loved ones, with your parents. Be close to them, and it's okay if you have any problem, anything. Make your parents your friends. I think they can help a lot because they know you more than anyone else. Yes, you might have close friends, you might have lots of, good friends in your life, but don't close the door for communication and advice from your parents. You will really need it in your life.
From your table here, that if I'm given choices, I can only make one of the three ways that choice. Right thing for right reasons. Mm-hmm. I can do right thing for wrong reasons. And I can do wrong thing for wrong reasons. Try to stay on the path of more on the right thing for right reasons, and never do wrong thing for the wrong reasons. If that's not an advice, that's just a thought for you all to think about to how to make a decision.
When you're facing difficulties, not to give up. Like if life gives you a hard time and challenges, you always have to find a way, an angle to escape and to build yourself again. When you fall, just get up. Do not cry. Don't say I'm a failure. Don't say I cannot do it, because nothing more detrimental to your psyche and to your future than just giving up. So, and then number two is to depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because when I was in Syria, the last days of my mom, she was very sick, and I was next to her bed every night, taking care of her, giving her food, drink, cleaning her. It's like a nurse, living nurse. And she always wanted to make a dua for me. Mother's dua is number one in your life. Supersedes everything that you encounter, wallahi. And I faced many, many challenges. With the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and my mother's prayers, I passed many difficulties and obstacles. So I depend on Allah, depend on my own intelligence and my own capabilities of passing difficulties. And number three, not to give up. Don't you ever give up, regardless if you fail one class or if you had like lower grades, or you always have to concentrate and find find a bright spot that you can concentrate on, and you get your attention through that to it, and you can do it. So that's what resilience is. But if you give up from the first time, you can't make it in this life. Life is so tough.